We're in the Bavli, Maseches Gittin Bavli, 4 lines at the bottom. Rabbi Shimon Machshir. Rabbi Shimon says it's kosher. Omer Rava. And Rabbi Shimon was the one who said in the Mishnah that if you have a get written by day and then signed by night, it's okay. So what's the reason? Omer Rava, my time of the Rabbi Shimon. What's the reason of Rabbi Shimon? Because over he holds. The moment the husband thinks that he wants to divorce her, even if it doesn't actually divorce her, in other words, the moment he has the get written to divorce his wife, even if it's not signed, that already is going to be reason for him to no longer be able to have payers. So the moment he had the get dated, that already will be enough grounds to stop him from eating her nichsei malog, her property that she brings into the marriage. So there's no problem. You don't have to wait till the signature. Shlokish says it's only if you signed it by night, right away. Only if it's by yom. However, if it's from today until 10 days, in other words, if he waited more than one day, even the next day, and he signed it the next day, we were worried maybe he changed his mind, and he appeased his wife, and he was with her, and it's a get yoshin, it's b'chlal not a kosher get, where it's a nuchshash, shechashin shemafiyas. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, afilu mikan v'dasar yom, misa defiyas kol yislei l'milsa. Even if he only signed the get 10 days later, it's still a kosher get. And this that you say we're worried that maybe he made up with his wife and he was with her, he had relations with her. Kol yislei. We'll have heard if the neighbors would have heard them stop yelling at each other, stopping to yell at each other. Itmar, it was stated, we're 3 lines in. Omer la sora kisvu get liishti. He told 10 people to write a get for my wife. Let's say a person told 10 people, write a get for my wife. Rabbi Yochanan holds that 2 of them are the witnesses, and the rest of them are tonight. They're not actual witnesses. Rather, says Rashi, it's an embarrasser. He wants to have a lot of people involved with the get to make her feel embarrassed. Rish Lakish, however, holds they're all eidim. They're all witnesses. What are we talking about? If we're talking about that, he didn't say all of you should write the get. He told 10 people to write a get liishti. Only 1 person has to write it, and 2 have to sign. You don't need 10 people to sign. It's a clear Mishnah. So how could Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish argue against a stam Mishnah? Argue about a stam Mishnah. Argue against. Mishnah says you don't even need the other 8 people, the other 7 people don't have to sign. Must be that he told them. Rather, he told them kulchem, all of you. What's the difference between them? What's the practical difference? Who cares if the Eidim are signed on because of a t'nai, because of a condition, or because they're Eidim? If 2 witnesses sign the star on the day, and the rest, the other 7, sign. Okay, 1 second, sorry. Sorry, my apologies. So the difference is, again, my benayu, what's the difference between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish? If you said, Kulchem Imanav they all have to sign. You could benayu, the same Beit Trei Benayu B'yoyim B'inach B'kam Radas Hayom. If two witnesses signed on the day that he wrote the shtar, and the other 7 signed 10 days later, I guess the other 8. The other 8, all 10 of them have to sign the shtar. So the other 8 signed 10 days later, within the next 10 days, or whatever it is. Man de Omar Mishum Tnai kosher. According to Rabbi Yochanan, that it's a Tnai, it's kosher. The other 8 are kosher. As long as 2 signed on the day, that's fine. Man de Omar Mishum Eidim possible. The shita that holds Eidim, however, is possible. So that's one difference. Inami, another difference. One of the witnesses was a relative, or he's disqualified the Eidus. Gemara tells us in Maseches Sanhedrin, which this is the halacha, that even if you have 100 Eidim, but they're all Eidim, and one of them is possible, the whole Eidus is disqualified. So the man, the opinion that says the other 8 are only extra kosher, it's fine. Even if one of them is possible, the other 8 are extra. The man, according to Rish Lakish, said they're because of Eidim, possible. Says the Gemara, according to the opinion that it's kosher to have a karev or a possible as the Eidim, what if he signed in the beginning? What if the relative or the 8 apostle signed right up in front? So will Rabbi Yochanan still say it's okay because he says it's a Tanai? Amri lo kosher, amri lo apostle. There's a machlokes. There's an opinion that holds that it's kosher. There's an opinion that holds that it's apostle. Amri lo kosher Tanai. There's an opinion that it's kosher because it's a Tanai. It's a condition. Amri lo foso osi lechlufe b'shtaris dama. The shita that holds that it's possible is because you're going to mix it up. Even when there's a karev in the beginning or a possible in the beginning, not no, because then you're going to start thinking that you can do that by a stam shtar, any shtar. So therefore, you're not allowed to. Okay, we're right now 4 lines from the bottom. On Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis on 18b. Ahu da'amr lahu la sora. There's a person who told 10 people, Kisvu get leishti. Write a get for my wife. 2 of them signed that thing. The rest signed within the next 10 days. Also, the commander of Shimon Levi, so he went to Shimon Levi to ask what the psak will be. Is it okay or is it not? It depends on the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's fine. According to Rish Lakish, it's not. According to the Shimon, even if they're kosher Eidim, they're allowed to sign later. So for sure, it's fine. It's fine. Didn't Reb Shimon say? Didn't Rish Lakish say that Reb Shimon is only say it's okay if he signed that night, but not 10 days later, because we're worried about he was Matthias, that he appeased his wife. But he could have Yochanan severely. When it comes to that scenario, he holds like Rabbi Yochanan to be lenient. Didn't Rabbi Yochanan B'chlal say there's no problem? Even according to the Chachamim, it should be okay. When it comes to that, then he holds like Rish Lakish that it's not Tanai. It's Eidum. It's Eidum. Elamai, we could rely on Rav Shimon, and you could rely on Shimon even 10 days, even after 10 days. Okay, we're up to the Mishnah and Daf Yud Tes Amud Aleph. Is everybody with me? Okay, the Mishnah on the top of Yud Tes Amud Aleph. B'chol koisvim, you're allowed to write with everything, b'dyoy, with ink, b'sam. Okay, we'll get into what these things mean. B'sam, b'sikro, b'kumus, and kakatam, different types of ink. Anything that lasts. In koisvim le'b'mashkin v'le'b'meteris, you can't write with a liquid or with fruit juice. Anything that won't last. You can write on anything, on olive shel zayis, and an olive leaf, on a keren shel pora, on a cow's horn. You just have to give her the pora. Al yad shel zayis, Al yad, sorry. Al yad shalevet v'nisan le'zevet. You write on the hand of the Eved, you have to give her the Eved. What about the zayis? What about the tree? How do you give her the tree? So Rashi says that the only zayis is actually disconnected. It's detached from the tree. The leaf of the olive tree. Rabbi Yosef Glili holds you're not allowed to write on something which is alive, and you're not allowed to write on food. Says the Gemara, what's dioi? Dioi, it's ink. It's ink that we have today. Okay. Sam is sama. Some sort of yellow dye. Sikra Omer Rabba Babrachana, Sikra so Shema. Sikra, so it's a red dye. Kumbus is kuma. It's a certain sap from a tree. Kankanta Omer Rabba Babrachana, Rishmul Charta du Shkafi. It's the shoemaker, the black shoemaker polish. That's the ink. That's Kankanta. Hold over Shumuskayim, anything will last. So you might include what? So you have the Tanur of Chanino. To include what Rav Chanina taught, which is Kosvei b'meitario. With the water that you soak a fruit which is similar to gall nuts, which has like an ink, va'fotzo, and also the gall juice, kosher. That's fine. That's also long lasting. We're talking about a certain type of lead. Vashocher is coal. Vashichor is the shoemaker polish. Kosher. It's okay. Itmar amaver dior gabi sikra b'shabbos. Okay. So what if you have sikra? We said sikra is a red dye. No. We said sikra is sikra. It's a red dye. Yeah. Sorry. It's a red dye. So what if you have two letters that you wrote with a red dye, and then you put black ink over it on Shabbos? Are you chayiv because you're kosev? You're writing. Black obviously supersedes red. So if you put black ink on top of red ink on Shabbos, Rav Yechon Rish Lakish is sorry, Rav Yechon Rish Lakish agree. You're chayiv too. First of all, you're writing, and you're erasing the lower letters. So you have two sets of malchus, or two carbon chatas, two carbon chatases. Dioi gabi dioi, but if you put black ink on top of black ink, sikra gabi sikra, red on top of red, potter, it's exempt because you're not doing anything, you're not adding anything. It was already there before. Maybe make it a little darker, but it's not enough of a change to be considered. I don't know. Shh.
You probably are doing it wrong here.
Sorry. But if you put dioy gabi dioy, sikra gabi sikra, black on black or red on red, you're not doing anything. You're not erasing and you're not adding. So you're potter, you're exempt. Sikra gabi dioy, what if you put red on black? Amri lachayev, amri lapater. Some people say you're chayev, some people say you're pater. Amri lachayev, some people say you're chayev because you're erasing. You're not adding because black is better than red, but I'll call upon him, you're erasing the black. Amri lapater mekalkul. The shita that says you're pater is because it's like it's mekalkul. You made it worse than before, so it's considered worse than before, and therefore it's mekalkul. So you're exempt. You're pater. What's the machlokes? Tosfos says the shita that holds it's not mekalkal is because we assume you're eventually going to write again black ink and then it'll be even better. Shita that says it's mekalkal. Poil mamish, you're being mekalkal right now. Halacha is you're not sure actually. Paul Midei Rish Lakish from Rabbi Yechanan. Rish Lakish asked a question from Rabbi Yechanan. Eidim shein yodim lachtim. Eidim don't know how to sign their signature. Are you allowed to write for them with sikra with red ink and then they'll add black ink? Just like we see here on Shabbos, it's considered writing if you put black on red. If they add with black ink on top, is the other upper writing considered ksav or not? He said it's not. Shabbos, didn't you teach us by Shabbos that it's considered writing? So why is it not considered writing for an 8? By Eidim, normally we say to carve out into the paper, to etch into the paper. Their signature and they fill it in with ink. Why not just put red ink and we'll trace it? Just because I want it to be machmer, you're going to say based on that, say that you could be makel, you could be linear by Gittin, by Shrotis. No. And Rashi says, even regarding Shabbos, he said you're chayiv, but he didn't actually mean that you'd be chayiv a carbon chatz. Because it's a question of bringing chul and bazara. You cannot bring chul, you can't bring a carbon if you're not chayiv. So therefore he says you can't. Okay, so what do you do if Eidim don't know how to sign? We're on the bottom now of Daf Yud Testament Aleph. Itmar, about 10 lines on the bottom. Eidim shein Eidim lachtim. If you have witnesses that don't know how to sign, Rav Omar Mekarin lahem niyar cholak umemalim besakroim dioy. According to Rav, you carve in on a clean piece of paper and you fill in whatever you carve. Ink. Shmuel Amar Ba'avar. Shmuel says you put this piece of lead. You soak lead with water and that water turns into ink basically. So flag the Gemara Ba'avar Sakataitach. You're going to say Ba'avar that they could write on the Avar. Didn't Rav Chia say that if you soak lead in water and you use this water, this darkened water as your ink, or b'shochar, or coals, b'shichur is the shoemaker polish. It's kosher. It's okay. So how could you say you could write on it? The kasha of avro b'mayda avro, that's fine. That's not except. Mayda avro, the water that you soaked it with is except. So we're talking about avro itself, the lead itself. Babo amr b'mei milit. Babo says, talking about you soaked, ground up gall nuts. That's what we're talking about. But Tony, Rav Chia Kosmei Vidim ba'afotza kosher. Didn't he say that if you wrote a b'mei milim or a fotza, it's kosher? So we see mei milim is also considered a ksav. The kasha, the ofitz or the lofitz. Depends on the parchment. If the parchment was ofitz, so then mei milim is not going to do anything because it's a similar texture. But if the parchment is loy ofitz, then it's a ksav. Shein mei milim agam mei milim. If it's already ofitz, the mei milim is not going to do anything. Of Papa Homer Baroik, Papa says the avar is roik. Talking about roik. Talking about spit to trace out the signature with spit, and then they fill it in with black ink. Like that. Seems a little whatever. Bani Mili Begittin. Rav Papa told Papa Turah, who was in charge of oxen, he said, Baroik, Bani Mili Begittin, this that we're lenient is only by Gittin. Of Bishtaris loy. By Shtaris, however, we're strict and we say the Eidim know how to sign on themselves. There was a person who was lenient by Shar Shtaris that he would use Eidim who didn't know how to read or sign for them. But Nagdir Rav Kana gave him lashes. Okay, so we have machlokes between Rav and Shmuel. According to Rav, you have to just etch it in. According to Shmuel, you use a light, like not a real ink, and then they trace over it. We're on Daf Yud Testament Beis now, 19b. Tanya Kabasei the Rav, this is supporting Bryce for Rav. Eidim shen yedim lachtim. If witnesses don't know how to sign, mekarin lehen yar cholak u'mamalis hakroyim dioy. You carve on a clean piece of paper and they fill it in with ink. Amar Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. Shimon Gamliel said, this only will apply by Gittinoshim. But when we're talking about the bill of emancipation for a servant or any other star,
I mean, if the witnesses are illiterate, how can they be signing on a get? They can't read what the get says.
It's a leniency by get. Specifically, it's a leniency by get because we don't want her to be an aguna.
Oh, you're saying we're lenient so that she won't be
reads out the star to the Eidim, and then we trace out their signature.
Okay.
But by any other star, you're right. You can't do that. You have to find proper agent. We're only this leniency is only by Gittin Noshim because you were worried you're not going to find other agent. If they know how to read and sign, they should sign. If not, they don't sign. Who mentioned anything about reading? We're only talking about signing. Why did he all of a sudden bring him reading? It's missing words, and this is how you have to read it. If Eidim don't know how to read, you read in front of them and they'll sign. If they don't know how to sign, then you carve it out. This only applies by Gittin Noshim. These leniencies. When it comes to Shikra Avodim Meshakal Shadis, if they know how to read and sign. If not, don't sign. Rabbi Lazar said, my time with the B'Shimon Gamliel Shalom Yubanesi Yisrael Lagunei. The leniency by Gittim is we don't want the girls to be on a guna. Therefore, dafka by Gittim you can be lenient. Omer Rav Halacha B'Shimon Gamliel. Rav says Halacha is like B'Shimon Gamliel. Rav Gamda Mishmei the Rav Omer ain't Halacha. Halacha is not like him. But come on, you're going to tell me the Halacha is like the Chachamim. That you can be lenient in every case. There's a person who did who was lenient in all shtaris, and Rav Kana gave him Malkus. Tirgama Kriya. That the leniency of the Chacham, this that he said, Allah is like the Chacham, is only if they don't know how to read, but they know how to sign. But if they don't even know how to sign, Ad Kedekach, then Rav Kana is gonna then Rav Kana gave him lashes. Interesting what the difference is. Okay, the Gemara talks about different situations where it was hard for the Chachamim to read the get, and they relied on other people to read it for them. That's what we're up to. So the Gemara says like this. Rav Yehuda mitztar kari v'chas. Rav Yehuda, he was very old, and it was hard for him to read the shtar. So other people read it for him. The cipher would read it for him and would sign. Let's say he needed to sign as an aid or a dain. It was hard for him to read, so other people read it for him, and then he would sign. Amar le'ula loy tzrichas. But it wasn't what a dari so. Sorry, I think I explained it wrong. Rav Yehuda mitzvah kodol chasim was hard for him, but nevertheless he was machmer. He was strict to read and sign. Ula told him, you don't have to work so hard to read and sign. But Rabbi Lazar, who was the most important person in the whole Eretz Yisrael, the biggest Talmid Chacham in Eretz Yisrael, they would read in front of him and he would sign. Rav Nachman also they would read in front of him and sign. So you could do the same thing. The Dafka Rav Nachman, specifically Rav Nachman. Why? Besafre Daino and the Soifrim, he slew Amsa because they're afraid of it. Rav Nachman Besafre Achrine, Rav Nachman, a regular scribe, or Safre Daino Vinish Achrine, the scribes of the Dayanim, and other people like no. Zokti Gemara, Rapopiki have also the Kamei Shtara Parso, David Bar Kodesh put them when there was a Persian star that was done in the non-Jewish court of law. Makrilu the Shnei Kutim Zeshalev Ifnei. He would have two non-Jews read it, not in front of each other, and that would be Umagvi Bein Mishabdi. And then he would use it Ad Kedei Kach to collect from property that had already been sold. We said before, a star from the Akum was okay. Okay, Omer Ravashi, we're in the middle now of Daf Yud Testament base of 19b. Omer Ravashi, Omer Li Rav Yehuda, Rav Huna Bar Nosson. Rav Huna Bar Nosson told me, Hochi Omer Ameimar, and Rav Meimar said, Hai Shtar Parso. If you have a star from the Parsa, it's not Jewish. that there's Jewish witnesses. You're allowed to be goyve to collect from property that already been sold. Because, sorry, it's not a non-Jewish star. It's a Jewish star that's written in Persian. Like the Gemara by Bidding Sa, they don't know how to read such a thing. The Yadi, they knew how to read it. But Bidding Sa, is Daif. The Leica, it shouldn't be able to be forged. The Gemara says, "B'da'afitzon." When you make the parchment black with offits, when it's offits, the person's not going to be able to erase and sign again, because it will be very recognizable when you do that. Hashank in the cloth, the Persian cloth doesn't have a futzit. It's easy to erase and rewrite, so it's much more easy to forge. So the Gemara is talking about that even though it's written in Persian, b'da'afitzon, they did it like the Jewish star. Doesn't the star have to recap everything in the last line? You did it right. So what are you coming to teach us? The whole Lashon kosher? You're trying to teach us that every language is kosher for a get? So we already know this. Get shekosve ivris ve'id of Yavanis. If you wrote the get in Hebrew, in ivris and edim are in Yavanis. Yavanis ve'id of ivris kosher. If from there you would think only a get, but not anything else. Any star you could write in any language, as long as it's done properly.
Write in any language or sign in any language?
Both.
Oh, both.
So
now they could write it in Russian.
What does it mean to be signed in Greek?
I guess the Greek letters.
Oh, okay.
Boy, today in Israel, they could write it in Russian then. Lots of Russian Jews there, right?
Oh yeah, there's a growing community. A lot of Jews are moving there from Russia.
That's what I noticed the last time I was in there. They had posters in Russian and radio stations in Russian.
Yeah. Over Shmuel says, "Nosel and Yar Chalak." He gave her a blank sheet. And he told her, "This is your get." She's considered divorced. We're worried that maybe it was absorbed. It was made milin, the mime of a fatzim, and you crushed up gallnuts and you soaked it in water. So the Gemara says, Mesa is a question. He gave her a get and she took and threw it in the sea or in the fire, hold over anything that ruins. Then he went up and he said, Star passen. It was just.
How was a blank piece of paper a get?
We're worried it might have been ink that got absorbed into the paper that you didn't
So
know.
it's not there.
You can't see it?
Right.
Right. So the Gemara is going to ask. So she threw it in the fire, and he said, actually, it wasn't a get. It was a star pasim. It was star lamona. It was just, it was something that I wrote to lend, and I didn't actually to borrow, and I didn't actually borrow. And they're friends with each other, and so on. You have friends, star pasims. You have a friend. You want to show that you're a wealthy person, so you write that he owes you money. Star money, you're having in mind to borrow, but you didn't yet borrow. Megureshus. It doesn't matter. She's still Megureshus, and he can't make her forbidden. Time of the Iksav, it's only because we knew that there was something written there. But if you see the page from the parchment is blank, like Baruch's question. Says Rashi, if you're going to say that you're even Megureshus with a Niyar Cholok, with a blank piece of paper, why do you say? You should have said this Chiddush. This is even bigger Chiddush. Says the Gemara, Kikomer Shmuel debatkinale b'maya denora. Shmuel that he says Megureshus, you check it with maya denora. It's a certain dye, and you're going to see any letters that are absorbed. If it comes out, it comes out, and if it doesn't come out, it's not anything. So the Gemara asks, even if it comes out using this dye, how does it help you? How should the bullet? It only came out now. Shmuel says, we're worried that it might not have fully been invisible In a Hanami, he doesn't say that she's divorced. She will need a new get. But we're worried she's a suffix Megureshes, that maybe it didn't get absorbed so much. And if she'll die, she'll be forbidden for a kohen. And she'll have to do chalitza na'ibum, because she's a suffix Gerusha. She's considered a suffix Gerusha.
How am I supposed to know it?
Okay. Tomorrow goes further. Let's go to the bottom. Omer Ravino. Ravino said, Omerli Maimar told. Hochi Omer Mereim B'Shmei Ravdimi. This is what Mereim said in the name of Ravdimi. Hani Beit today the Yoiv Gita Kamayu. If there's two people that the get was given in front of them, they're the agent that the get was given over. Tzichel Mikra, they have to read it over. Meisvei, there's a question. Hariz Gita Chum Talata was Raktel Yam. Told his wife, "This is your get." She threw it in the sea, into the fire, into anything that's lost. He said it wasn't really a star, it wasn't really a get, it was something else. She's divorced. He's not able to be ice. If you're going to say they need to read it. After they read it, is he able to say that it was something else? Like we're talking about the basar de karyu after they read it. He put it into his sleeve. Afghan, he took it out. You might think to say that we're worried that he might have switched it. Kamash Malon, and we're not worried. We assume it's the same document. Says the Gemara, story Ahu Gavra. There was a person, the Zorak Legito Lidvisu, Leveni Dani. He threw a get to his wife between barrels. And Ishtakach Mazusa, they looked over there and they found a mezuzah. Omer Rav Nachman Mazusa Benidani Leshchicha. This is it. This is what he threw. This must be. It's not shchich. Found a mezuzah there. Hani Leshchicha. Only found one. Of a base gimel, but if there's two or three, the fact that there's extra, so it's nishkein eraya. There was one originally. You could also say the second was there originally, and the get is mice must have taken it away. The get will say that it was mice that took it away. Last piece, and for the Bavli for today, there's a person that elevate Knishta that he went to the shul. Shokal Sefer Torah. He took a Sefer Torah. Yoav lo Ledvisa gave it to his wife. Amr lo ha gitach. He told her this is your get. Sefer Torah is your get. Rav Yesa the my leichus. What's the chash? If you're going to say that we're worried that the get was written in Meimilim, that it was like hidden in Meimilim, got Meimilim. There is no such a problem because a Sefer Torah has a fotza was already darkened. The parchment is darkened, so you don't have to worry about that because anyways it would be possible. We're on the next. We're on Daf Chof Amud Aleph. Imishum Krisos Ispa. If you're worried, the Chosav was Sefer Krisos was a pasuk that talks about a get. Tabin of a Chosav Lo Lishman has to be written for his sake. The Leica. It wasn't written for his sake. Maybe he gave money to the scribe to write it for Lishma. You have to have her name, his name, her name, the name of his city, name of her city. You don't have that in the Sefer Torah. It's obvious. To teach you there's no meimilim, there's juice from the gallnuts on top of the parchment, which is treated with this. Okay, we're on Daf Chof with Aleph from the Bavli on the top. 6 lines in. We'll stop here for today. We'll go to the Yerushalmi now.
I never knew that it could be written in any language. Is that the way it is today? The halacha?
Or that a get could be written in any language.
Because, you have sample in the art scroll of a get in Hebrew.
Yeah.
So somebody would have to translate it into Russian or Spanish or whatever it is.
I think this
pretty
is
difficult to me.
I'll check, but I think it is the halacha. 1 second, give me a minute. Sorry.
Doesn't sound right somehow. So is it on Halacha Aleph?
I don't know.
What page does it say in the brackets? Should say,
What brackets?
well, on the top. See, it gives you sign in this book. That's what it tells you. Well, that doesn't seem right. Or
What
you,
design?
I should say. Yud.
Oh, the daf?
Yeah, I'm using a different book. I'm not using the art scroll. I think I'm
Yeah, it's
on.
fine. The halacha is fine. That's the halacha. Unless
Eric,
it's going to be done, then it's only a business.
talking to somebody.
Okay,
No, he
we're
said
on
that's
daf
the
10.
halacha.
What's the halacha?
You can write it in any
Oh,
language.
I see. That's the halacha.
Yeah, as long as it's
To
done
me
with
that
all the
it-
conditions of the Torah, that it shouldn't be able to be forged and so on, that is the halacha.
Seems to defeat the purpose of having one language. Anyway, that's halacha. That's what it is.
We're on daf test right now in the Yerushalmi, Halacha Beis.
Okay, what daf is it on this one? This is different.
No, you have the same as
Version.
me. Daf test.
What's that?
You have the same version as me. Daf test Samad Aleph, Halacha Beis.
Well, I don't have the art scroll.
Oh, I thought you have it.
No, Baruch has it, but I'm using the
Oh.
regular one, the one that's
Oh,
not
okay.
translated.
We're on Yud Amud Beis.
Yud
Yud Amud
and
Beis.
which,
Halacha
Oh.
Beis by the Mishnah.
okay, I think I see it. How does it start? Niktav Bayom? Nichtam Bayom?
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Nichtav B'yoyim v'nechtam b'yoyim was written by day, signed by day. B'layla v'nechtam b'layla was written by night and signed by night. B'layla v'nischatim b'yoyim was written by night and signed by day. Kosher. B'yoyim v'nischatim b'layla apostle was written by day and signed by night. Then it's possible. For Reb Shimon Machsher, Reb Shimon says it's kosher. Reb Shimon Aimer Kol Gittin shenichtav b'yoyim v'nechtam b'layla psulin chutz megittin ashrim. Reb Shimon would say any get that you wrote by day and signed by night is possible except for Gittin ashrim. He's lenient by Gittin Ashim. Nichta b'yoyim v'nachta b'yoyim v'chulu. Rabbi Yochanan said, Psum te'achilas peres. The reason why a get needs to have time is in order to know until when the husband is allowed to eat the nichsim v'log, the property of the woman. That's why you have to have a time on it. And that's why you have to sign it on the same date.
Uh-huh.
You sign it a day later, then the husband really has rights for an extra day. Why aren't we worried about getting the cup from overseas? The same problem is that they might be written one day and signed on the other. We're not worried about that. Of course, it's possible. We're not worried about that. That's a ziyuf for dovrach. Mashenkein lishma is a ziyuf mitoich. The Edom have to be Mekayim the get to say the get is correct. But a detail like this, that it was signed a different day, that we're not placious, we're not worried about. This that Rav Shimon is lenient is only by night. Oops. Avol. But if he signed it the next day, then even Rav Shimon will be that it's a problem. It doesn't matter how much longer. It's all good. Even if you signed it much later, Reb Shimon will be lenient in such a case. So in the Bavli, we had it the exact opposite. The Bavli, we had it the opposite. Rabbi Yochanan was the one who was lenient, and Rish Lakish was the one who was strict. So the Gemara asks a question. According to Rabbi Yochanan, what's l'mocher that there's a problem l'mocher the next day? One opinion is mamash l'mocher. The next day, we're chayshish of pius that the husband made of appease his wife, and it's a get yosha, and he slept with her, and the get is canceled. The other opinion is machra de macher. It's only 2 days in. 1 day later, we're not chayshish. If he signs it a day later, we're not worried. But 2 days later, yeah. Kasha de Rabbi Yochanan al de Reish Lakish. Mikasha de Rabbi Yochanan de Rabbi Shimon al de Rabbi Shimon. It's a Shiloh and Rabbi Yochanan. It's a contradiction the way the Rabbi Yochanan explains Rabbi Shimon to the way we explain Rabbi Shimon in a different place. Al de Reish Lakish is really Al de Rabbi Shimon. You have to change the gear. Kain Omar Rabbi B'Shimon Rabbi Zira Asid Rabbi Shimon Lakish Rabbi Shimon Kira Belazar. Kamad Rabbi Belazar Afal Sheina Laveidim Kosher Kain Rabbi Shimon Eimer Afal Sheina Laveidim Kosher. Rabbi holds. According to Rabbi Yochanan, there's a difference between if you signed it the next night, and if you signed it the day after, that it's a problem if it's the day after. Rabbi said earlier in the first parak that Rabbi Shimon holds that you theoretically don't even need a sign. It's only the tikkun oilo. Maybe you can find the witnesses. It's really Edom Besido. The Edom that you get when you give over the get, those are the ones that you need. Rabbi Shimon also holds. Therefore, Rabbi Shimon says if it's in our kois, if it's in a non-Jewish court, it's kosher because you don't really need Edom. So you see, the Rabbi Shimon holds the Edom Chsim are not makif. And here he's saying that if you sign the next day, it's a problem. How does that make sense? Rabbi Shimon said. It's Nishkin Kasha. Shmuel, sorry. Shmuel said, the brother of Abrechia, Shmuel, the brother of Abrechia, answered, if you want to be choisem, then Reb Shimon says it has to be kedit. It has to be in the proper way. But if there's no edim, then it's fine. Also with our kois, it's fine because we're talking about names that are clearly not Jewish. We're by the 2 dots now on Daf Tesam at base. Okay. The Gemara goes on. If he told 10 people to sign in this get, and it's only a few signed today, and the rest signed the next day. Shimon says it's fine because the 2 Eidim are the important ones. They sign right away. The rest is all tonight. We're talking about according to the Chum that you have to sign everything on the same day. As long as 2 Eidim sign that day, you're okay. It says it's possible until they all sign on the same day. So we have machlekes between Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan again. So Rabbi Yochanan is the lenient one. Rabbi Yochanan is the strict, and Rish Lakish is lenient. Again, it's the exact opposite of the Bavli, as far as I understand. Rabbi Yaakov Baridi B'Shimon Levi says, there was a story the person told 10 people, sign my get, and only some signed today, the rest signed the next day. Also, the Kumi Rabbanan, the Choshrun, the story came in front of the Chav, and they said it's kosher. The Choshrun, they lechatchila know. However, it's kosher because they rely on Reb Shimon. That's the way we say it. It's not because we hold that if he told 10 people you could do it later. It's because we rely on Reb Shimon. That's the reason to be lenient. That you could sign later. This supports Rabbi Yochanan. This that we say that you all have to sign on the same day supports Rabbi Yochanan. But it's arguing with him what he said according to Reb Shimon. That Reb Shimon would say if it's Lachas Man, it's possible. Here was Lachas Man, it's kosher. After a while time, it's kosher. Adon Messiah, the Reb Shimon Lakish with Reb Shimon, this supports his interpretation. Rish Lakish's interpretation of Reb Shimon, but it doesn't fit with the way his interpretation of the Chachamim that it's Al Tanai is okay to have 8 people sign later. Okay, we're up to the Mishnah. We're up to Halacha Gimel. I think we'll stop here.
Okay.
Until tomorrow.